Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Speaking Legally, where the legal meets the cultural. Every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We thank you for tuning in. We're like 50 shows in. Can I just get a little round of applause for the fact that I think we're over 50 shows with Speaking Legally? I mean, that is just awesome. So we wouldn't have a season two and we wouldn't have all of these episodes to celebrate if you all weren't viewing. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of our broadcast, giving us your information, your insight. Hey, Rich, thank you. Can you believe it? I have to get the exact number. I think we're up to like 53 or something like that when my team was looking at it. So we're pretty excited that this show has been a place that you can come and get information from our two legal experts each and every week, Mr. Royce Russell Esquire and Mr. Edward Picharo Esquire. So we're going to get into an exciting show, but can we just be grateful that spring sprung and went to summer, at least for today. So let's enjoy the good weather while we have it and a great show. I'm going to let my co-host say hello, and then we're going to jump into what's happening in real time. Everyone's gearing up for a lot of activity. So this show will be dealing with elections in New York, but it's also relevant in some places throughout the country. So, Mr. Russell, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I got some news not too long ago before I logged on that Paul Mooney died, and so
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to give a little. That was one of my main men. You know what I mean? He called it like he
Wow.
called it like he saw it, and you better not sit in the front row. I mean, Paul Mooney is well-renowned African American comedian and TV producer. He produced Richard Pryor's special. He wrote for Flip Wilson. I mean, he was a man behind the scenes, plenty of movies. He has written for comedy skits and scripts and things of that nature. I think he even was on Saturday Night Live at one point doing some writing for them. But world renowned, went through all the years and all the decades and the up and downs of black exploitation all the way to the present. And, he told it like it was. He told it like it is. So, in tribute to Paul Mooney, this is like Speaking Legally Paul Mooney style. That's what we do. We bring the cultural, we bring the legal, and we tell it like it is. Now, we add some levity to it, but we get straight to the getting. You know what I mean? The onion is peeled, the banana skin is pulled back. We cut you straight to what they say, the white meat. That's what we going for, what we do. In reference to making sure that the legal and cultural meat in our community have an understanding. And I see you got up here with the quick hands. This is part of your production crew that you talk about. Let's give another round of applause to the production crew, able to jump up here and get the age of 79. 79, that's a young fella.
That's
79.
very young, very
You know
young. And
what I
I,
mean?
I had a chance to meet him and work on a couple of events. And I just literally 2 weeks ago looked at a picture that I took with him and one with one of my young mentees who's now a grown woman and a wife and a mother. And I said, I need to give her this picture with Paul Mooney. And look at this. Wow.
Yeah, 79 years old is young. I didn't know we were that close. I mean, 79, that's reachable. And I'm glad they associated him with Richard Pryor because he worked hand in hand. He was a writer extraordinaire. And like I said, you do not want to sit in the first row unless you got the comeback, right? And you got to be careful with the comeback because you say something and then he tossing you the whole show. We don't do that on Legally Speaking. You have a
Well,
comment in the
speaking
box.
legally,
I
no,
mean,
we don't do that here.
you have a comment in the box. We'll answer your comment. We won't dog you out the whole way through, but you better be careful because it's a Paul Mooney special today. And I know this information that we're about to, that's right. This information we're about to get about this election, I'm telling you, this is like, we're going to dog this out Paul Mooney style. So,
Oh Lord. Well, let me let Abogado, attorney Edward Pichado, you give your greetings, and I'm sure you want to say a word. We did lose another legend today, and he was a brilliant, brilliant man. Like talking to him behind the scenes, it gave me a whole nother perspective of his comedy and where that came from and the talent that he had. So I'm gonna find my picture. I'm gonna find my picture. I forgot what folder I put it in, but just celebrating the life of Paul Mooney. And yes, where the legal meets the cultural. So over to you, Senor.
Well, hello everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show today. Definitely sharing the sadness with the passing of Paul Mooney. I always considered him extremely entertaining, witty, quick on his feet. Definitely keeping it real, always to the point where he maintained his principles. With respect to what it is that what shows he chose to appear on, and movies and other work that he undertook. So, and I think he often spoke in interviews about how he suffered behind his principled stances with respect to a variety of issues. So we're seeing another giant pass away, but I'm sure he's gonna have a lot of folks laughing up there in heaven. So God bless him for sure.
And as he says, and I got this from him, Ed. Like he says, I peeps it all, because that's what Paul Mooney does. I peeps it all. You know what I mean? That's what he said.
Old school right
he's
there,
like, I
boy.
peeps it all. You know what I mean? Old school all the way.
Oh my goodness. Well, there's a lot going on in the world, in the news, as always. Here on this show is where the legal meets the cultural. So there are things that we need to know about, be aware about, participate in, be civically engaged, so that we understand our rights. We know what it is that we should be aware of, and we have two legal experts that can guide us through all of these variety of issues that we're facing and seeing. So we talk on this show quite often about being aware of who you're electing to office, who's writing the laws and enacting all of the special orders, and who is responsible for how we live in all of our various communities. And in the state of New York, this is a very important election year. There are a lot of open seats. There are a lot of challenges to incumbents. There's a new mayor that will be elected. There's a lot happening. And hey, Rolanda, thank you for joining in. Great to see you. So we want you to be aware of some changes that are happening. And also, we're going to debate whether this change is good or not, but it's happening. People have voted without knowing, is my opinion, during the last election cycle, where there was a proposition on the ballot. Hint, hint, when there are propositions on the ballot, you have to be aware of what you're voting on before you go to the voting booth, because it's on the back. You have to read it and be aware, voting yes or no. What does that mean? And what happened, people really didn't know much about ranked choice voting in New York. And it was on the ballot, and people opted in to just check yes. And it ended up passing in city council. And we're going to just play a little bit of video to share with you what's going on, but it affects the New York City races. It doesn't affect the other state races, which is interesting. And there are other states that have enacted this, and other locations and municipalities who are using ranked choice voting. Our challenge is not to tell you what to believe or to think, but to make sure that you're thinking for yourself, some critical thinking on what's working out here, what we need to be aware of as a community, and what's going to affect us. So let's listen in to this short video, and then we're going to talk about ranked choice voting today.
NYC voters, there's a new way to vote for your city officials in 2021. The City of New York will use the ranked choice voting method for all NYC primaries and special elections for mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. Ranked choice voting gives New York voters more choice than ever before. Rather than choosing just one candidate, now you have the option to rank up to 5 of your favorite candidates. Here's how it works. Mark your ballot on order of preference, ranking as many or as few candidates as you. In the first column, fill in the oval next to your first choice candidate, your second choice in the second column, followed by your third, fourth, and fifth choice. At the close of election day, all first choice votes are counted. The candidate to receive over 50% of votes wins. If no candidate receives over 50% of the first choice votes, the race moves to round 2. The person with the least number of votes is eliminated. If your first choice candidate does not win and they're eliminated, then count your second choice vote and add it to the candidate total. This process continues until we have a winner. Go to vote vote.nyc. Learn more about NYC ranked choice voting.
Now,
So
Dr. Grant, you may have to walk through that verbally because it was a little low in sound. I can see the imagery, and I think it's important that maybe you walk through it because you understand it a whole lot better than some of us. And Ed, Ed, it's funny that we're talking about this subject matter, and I digress a little bit. We're talking about this subject matter. And for those who don't know, Ed is in the office, right? And so he's doing this. He's having a little technical difficulty, so he's doing it by his phone. And so what is happening, at least from my view of looking at him, like the light shines on him and then it goes away. And it's almost like, but look at the subject matter we're talking about, right? Ranked voting. It's like the light is shining on it and then it's going away. And you know what I mean? And I'm on the side of the going away. Like I think it's some bullshit. Now all of a sudden we got two brothers and a sister running for mayor, and now we want to do this ranked voting system. We want to do it at the highest of level. But before I start, singing from the soapbox, Dr. Grant, if you could just go through it just a little bit slower of what you saw on the video, and let me be who I am, and then you can give me what your analysis is, since you and Rake voting, y'all like Mrs. Jones. We got a thing going on. You know what I mean? Let's do it like that. So.
Well, we're going to see if we can go through the video again to make sure that folks can follow along as it's playing. So let me just check what's happening here with the audio, because it's a good overview, but I'll walk you through what you're seeing and what you're looking at. So just give me a second to make sure that we can check the sound, and then I'll explain it. Okay, fair enough?
Fair enough.
New way to vote for your city officials in 2021. The city of New York.
Because Eddie got a lot to chew off to explain this situation.
For all NYC primaries and special elections.
Okay, are you hearing it?
Yes.
Comptroller, Borough President, and City Council. Ranked choice voting gives New York.
Yeah, you got to show the video though.
Before.
Oh.
Rather than choosing.
That would help, right? So,
yeah.
Okay, let me just make sure.
Just when you gave your production crew all that credit, right?
All
gave them all that credit, and
here we go.
Hey, NYC voters.
That's much better.
You need to vote for your city officials in 2021. The city of New York will use the ranked choice voting method for all NYC primaries and special elections for mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. Ranked choice voting gives New York voters more choice than ever before. Rather than choosing just one candidate, now you have the option to rank up to 5 of your favorite candidates. Here's how it works. Mark your ballot by order of preference, ranking as many or as few candidates as you like. In the first column, fill in the oval next to your first choice candidate, your second choice in the second column, followed by your third, fourth, and fifth choice. At the close of Election Day, all first choice votes are counted. The candidate to receive over 50% of votes wins. If no candidate receives over 50% of the first choice votes, the race moves to round 2. The person with the least number of votes is eliminated. If your first choice candidate does not win and they're eliminated, we then count your second choice vote and add it to the candidate's total. This process continues until we have a winner. Go to vote.nyc to learn more about NYC ranked choice voting and upcoming elections.
All right.
I swear to you, by the time we finish this show, you're gonna have to show that video again. I saw it 2 times yesterday. This is 2 times today. Come on.
It's not that bad. It's not. Well, my concern about this is your reason for wanting to see it again. It's the electorate being informed about what ranked choice voting really is. We have elders that are not computer savvy, that are not necessarily having access to a nice video like this, or individuals who are going to take the time and the patience to show them, because they're used to voting one way. They're used to going to the poll. They're used to bubbling in. Now that they've learned that, now we're giving them a whole nother thing to learn. So it's not impossible to understand, but it does require the right amount of education. So there's been some effort that has been put out to inform the electorate of what's happening, but I'm not convinced that everyone's going to be fully ready. Ranked choice voting has now opened up an opportunity for you to vote for more than one person. And I'm going to let
Dr. Grant, before we let Ed give his full explanation of it, which I think is what we desire, right? Because we're here to educate, right? And that's what we desire. I'm going to ask for him to sit in first class for a minute while we air all of these grievances so he can speak to all of these grievances, right? So I don't know if he'll ever be able to speak to the lack of education around this, right? It kind of like snuck up on everybody, even though it's been out there. And I make the analogy, it's almost like the vaccine, right? You know, folks they feel a certain way about the vaccine. And history has shown us that medicine and Black folks and people of color have not always landed in a happy place. You take that and you go to voting. You take that, you deal with what we've been dealing with police misconduct and death and George Floyd and the disengagement with the legal system, whether it's criminal or whether it's civil. And you have this that is out there. Now, this time they didn't get any rappers like they were doing with the vaccine or with wearing the mask. They didn't get any celebrities, no Alicia Keys, no Janet Jackson, no Jamie Foxx, no anybody on the TV saying, hey, wear a mask like they did when COVID came out. Nobody on TV explaining it. So all the folks can, they were looking for messengers in the world to get out. You need to wear a mask. They went to particular people that they knew they would reach the masses, especially people of color, to say, hey, look, if Jay-Z talks about wearing a mask, then everybody will wear a mask, right? Just thinking of a demographic. None of that happened in reference to this. Nothing. Zero. So to your point.
It's not zero. They have had some people.
Some people. Yeah. Look how you said it, right? They had some people, right? But you know what I mean? When they want to put, being America, the media, when they want to put things on full blast to get the message out, they know how to do it. This was this is one of those things where they raised the toll and they raised the fare for the MTA, and they have the hearing on Thursday at 4:30 in the morning on Sufton Boulevard somewhere. And you like, yo, B, I can't even get there. Like, what are you talking about? I got to be at work. How am I going to go to the hearings at 3:00? And, you got 5 kids. You can't get off of work. Right, you know what I mean? You can't get off work to do that. So to me, it gives a cloud of disingenuous, an air of like what you're trying to do. Then you add on that we got 2 brothers and a sister running.
That's just for one position.
I'm looking at this major position, right? Because that's what rattles me the most. I mean, we could look at controller. I don't even think people even know who's running for controller. You got some reporter from CNBC. You got another guy who's a speaker of city council. The only guy I really recognize is Brian Benjamin. So I mean, that's a normal race to me, right? You got one black.
You also have Kevin Parker running too,
and you got Kevin Parker, right? So that's a normal race to me, right? And it's not like 5 of us running to a degree. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. You could be corporate America in a minute, brother. Hold your horses. You got your long tie on. You're doing your thing. I don't know where your bread is cut from. As long as you pay your rent, I'm good. But hold your horses. Right? So we talking, I'm going to be the cultural end. You can have the legal end. And so now we got folks in the community who already believe one thing in general about life in America. Now you adding more shit on it. And this is what I don't understand about people, excuse me, in positions of power. Like, you could be selfish, you could be disingenuous, and I'm not advocating for being those things, but you could be those things and give an air that you're listening. Like when you tell your kids, Why don't you go ask your mother? You already know she's gonna say no, but you don't want to say no. So you send them off to somewhere else, right? I mean, but you're playing a role as if you're thinking about it. There's no role playing. It's like, this is what we doing, and this is how we're gonna shove it down your throat. Hold on, Ed. So now with all this stuff that's going on, this redistribution of votes, 1 through 5 or whatever, I don't get a chance to redistribute anything. And, I look at the presidential election, Bernie Sanders, he was like not losing. He got on the megaphone. Everybody who's for me, slide to the left, slide to the right, crisscross, jump. He made them do the cha-cha. It was all good. Now you're taking that away from me. Now, like Bernie can't get on the microphone and say slide to the left.
So here's what's happening with ranked choice voting. And yes, we're going to let Attorney Pichardo give an explanation because he's been spending time with this. And I actually have witnessed ranked choice voting because my girlfriend was one of the first elections in Queens.
Give a name, please. Give a name.
Councilwoman Selvena Brooks Powers, and we'll talk about that later. And I watched in real time how this played out. So there's a couple of things that I want to raise, and of course, we're going to turn it over to you in a moment, Ed. So one, the education, folks not understanding what it means to rank. In theory, it sounds awesome. Like, wow, there's such amazing people running. There's 10 people in a race, and I might like 3 of them. I might even like 5 of them. I can vote for the person I like the most, and then I can rank the others in choices of, if this person wasn't in, then I want this person and then this person. Okay, so on its face, that sounds pretty reasonable.
Dr. Grant, let me stop you. Ed may not know this, but this is very similar to, and you pledge a sorority and I pledge a fraternity. Don't put nobody online that you don't want to make it. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's what ranked voting reminds me of. Don't put anybody online that you don't want to make it, because guess what? They made it. You're like, nah, dog it. I thought for sure they wasn't going to make it, but now you put them online and there you go. So just continue. I mean, there's some.
Yeah, I'll continue because we're all non-hazing organizations. So anyway, back to ranked choice voting. So with ranked choice voting, you decide who you want to be in that office if that ideal number one candidate doesn't win. Normally, you go to the polls, you vote for the top choice. That's it. This is your person. You get it and you walk out. With ranked choice voting, the argument is now you have an opportunity to vote for more people. The confusion becomes, if you don't vote for this one and your ballot only has one, how are these votes redistributed? How is it moving to the top candidate if there's not 50% of the vote that goes? So that's the education. The real issue behind the issue is who's counting.
That's always the issue. It's always implementation.
Because there are machines and a company that does this in the places across the country that do ranked choice voting. My understanding was that company was like, nah, you moving too fast. We don't even want to bid on this project. So they're going to manually count votes, which is what happened in this District 31. And I'm like,
here we go, the Chads. Here we go with the Chads and the
So it makes me concerned. And then on top of that is also understanding that if we don't have the machines in place because we're not fully prepared, what will New York City look like with multiple races? So 2 city council members were leading an effort to actually block ranked choice voting from happening right here in Queens. So they're in my Southeast Queens district. I know how loud they've been speaking. I don't know how far it's gone on city council, but their point was we can't implement ranked choice voting until all of the electorate is properly educated and that we have the proper vendor that is going to count these votes in the city of New York. So I'll pause there because I've said a mouthful, and I'll let the fact checker come in and share his view on ranked choice voting.
And Dr. Grant, you said, Dr. Grant, you said until all the electoral is educated. I just want to expound on that. What they mean is you people, us people, until we're educated, we're the electoral. Like it ain't no some person in the sky. It's like us. It's like us. Like we're the people that need to be educated. So again, Ed, I know you got your apartment is full of boxes ready to count these votes because I know that's what you ready.
Well, listen. First of all, despite the pronouncements, I'm not an expert in ranked choice voting. However, I am a proponent of it. When I went into the booth during the referendum to select this, I selected it because I thought it was a good idea. And the reason why I thought it was a good idea is because it expands the level of choice. I think in most cases, when we go into the ballot box nowadays, or the ballot booth, or the little thing that you go in with the pencil hanging there, you're going in there kind of feeling like I got to choose the lesser of two evils, or the lesser of a number of individuals who I'm not necessarily thrilled about, but in my mind, I'm making calculations as to who do I think will win in many cases versus who it is that I prefer. I think that with respect to the education of the electorate, I buy those arguments. I agree with some of them that possibly the rollout was less than to be desired in terms of, its thoroughness and, the advertising that went out there. However, when I saw this video, which is a video that was put together by the city of New York, and not necessarily, I guess, some private sector commercial firm or whatever. Maybe it was, but one that got a bid or a contract from the city. I said, wow, this is a very beautiful explanation of ranked choice voting. My understanding is that the ranked choice voting is a choice. If you just simply want to select one candidate, you're able to do that. You don't have to rank them. That's up to you if you want to rank them. And you don't have to rank every single candidate. You could rank a certain number. You could say, I like these three and I'm only going to rank these three and not rank the rest.
So what you're saying? So what you're saying is that some folks will go in there and say, I can only rank. I want to go in there and I'll just rank all the black folks. They go 3 and that's it.
Well, you're still ranking there, right? Because you're picking a number one candidate, your number one, say, African-American candidate, and your second African-American candidate, and your third preference. You're able to do that. Now, it's interesting that you say that, because if it was not for the ranked choice voting, you'd have to make a decision amongst those 3 and just sit with whatever decision that you have. And if that person happens not to get a majority of the votes, then that's it. The reason why I like ranked choice voting is because I feel that in many cases, you will have historically, when you've had actual what they call dark horse candidates that are put who are brought onto the ballot to dilute the votes of communities of color that feel forced through cultural affinity or nationalist thought patterns to vote for one of their own. But when you have more than one, they feel torn. I believe with ranked choice voting, they will get to say, you know what? I like, let's say, okay, I like Maya Wiley. I like Raymond McGuire, but I like Maya Wiley more. She'll be my first. Raymond will be my second, and Eric will be my third, or vice versa, or however you want to put it. And that allows people the ability to still have their vote considered, their preferences considered, and it prevents these incidents where you have dilution of votes, in terms of, I can only pick one. Well, I guess that's the one I'm going to pick. And then later on, if, say, a candidate that's not of color is able to get all of the votes from a particular block, wins the election. I mean, that's the way I see it. Also, we have to get out of this mindset that any sort of change in the manner of voting is going to automatically disenfranchise people of color. I believe people of color are way more sophisticated than we give them credit for. And why do I say that? Look, we came from having to pay poll taxes and having to take literacy tests that prevented us from voting to where we're at now. We now live in the 21st century where we've had to adjust our behavior in many ways to be able to participate in this society on many different levels. And I think when it comes to this ranked choice voting, people will be able to figure it out. I just don't feel like it's that difficult, especially for the members of our community who love, say, sports. In sports, like, for instance, we got this NBA playoffs coming up. We got thing called the play-in. Your team has to do the play-in, unfortunately.
I know, but I can see that. I can see that in real time. I can't see I can't see what happens with the voting in real time. I walk in, I place a vote, I leave, and then you tell me 3 days later, oh yeah, well, Royce Russell got right. I can see the Lakers win or lose.
I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. Like, for instance, okay. So I've always said that democracy is painful. Okay, why is democracy painful? Because true democracies take into consideration everyone's preferences, everyone's ideologies, everyone's political leanings. And I believe this system does that. Yes, it will take time to count the votes. I believe that District 31 race in Queens, they went through 9 rounds of counts to get to the winner. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. There are many democracies around the world, for instance, that have multi-day voting where people get to vote over several days, which is what happened recently with the presidential election, where people got to vote
everybody
on
was
multiple days.
Everybody was on their pins and needles.
People were arguing about that change because they said, "Oh, why can't we just have 1 day of voting? Why don't you want 1 day of voting?" Well, what ended up happening is a lot of people, if they couldn't make it that day, their vote wasn't counted, and that was the end of that. Now you had multi-day voting. You had more participation. If I couldn't vote today, I could vote next week. I couldn't vote today, Sunday, but I'll vote on Wednesday. That's what people were doing. Anything that expands choices, that allow, and for instance, here in New York City in particular, I like it because most of these races are decided in the primary. Most of those primaries, most of the time, the person who has the strongest chance of winning is the establishment candidate, the one who the party selected, the one who the party is supporting. And you will have those alternative folks who are bucking the machine, because there are machines all over New York, believe it or not. They exist in different boroughs and different neighborhoods and different parts of the city, and they dominate these elections, and the same people get voted in every couple of years. They get selected by the head of the district leader, whatever. And yeah, there are shakeups, there are changes. Mavericks come in, rebels come in, new Democratic clubs come in, and they, shake things up. But for the most part, most of the time, incumbent and establishment candidates get selected. And here with this system, I'm hoping that whole paradigm gets shaken up. People who would normally have a chance of getting elected will now get a chance of being elected. I'm no longer forced to have to make compromises. I'm still making somewhat of a compromise in terms of who I'm ranking, but at the very least, I feel that, hey, listen, at least my alternative, my secondary preference, my tertiary third preference, my fourth preference is getting considered here. And at least this person has a shot of being considered if they could get others who were either like-minded or rank this person, maybe not number one, but two. As I understand it, because this law was actually called the instant runoff or ranked choice voting. So what it is, it's basically an instant runoff. If you don't get that 50% of the votes, then it goes into this system of, now let's look at who, where the rankings are and who got the most votes within those ranks. So absolutely. I mean, that's my contribution to this conversation. So, I do agree that there has to be probably more education, but I don't think it's a huge hill to climb.
Well, let's push a pin in that. And you referenced Sylvina Brooks Powers, our new councilwoman here in the 31st District in Queens.
And by the way, I used to work with Sylvina in the New York State Senate, so I know Sylvina, and I'm very proud of her.
Very proud. This is one of my girlfriends. I collect a lot of little sisters, and she's one. We've worked together at the JFK redevelopment. But let's just go to what happened with her race, as it's one that everybody has been following since she was one of the first. Oh Lord, they want us to sign into this. So while I'm pulling that up,
so you could pull it up. Let me not respond to. because I'm not responding to you. I'm sharing with you my thoughts, right? Because this is not necessarily you, me, you like it, I hate it. What the things I say, I think you're going to agree with. Here it is. Whether it's poll tax, whether it's literacy tax, wherever it was that the change had to be made in order for Black folks to vote, we took a hit while the change was being made. We're going to take a hit here if things don't come out right as the change is being made. No change has ever come for Black folks or anything in this system that was perfect. So you saw a smooth transition and everyone was satisfied. That did not happen and is not going to happen here. So we're going to take a hit one way or the other, whether we recognize it or not. Number two, hearing what you said, that reinforces the mindset of anybody who pledged any fraternity, any sorority, anything of that nature.
Well, I didn't pledge.
No, well, I'm sharing you something. You're going to learn today. I'm sharing you something. You're going to learn today.
You going to hit me with a battle? Damn, man.
No. It has to do with selection. It has to do with selection. Don't pick an office mate. Don't put somebody you want to pledge and you think is not going to cut it. Because when they cut it, then you got a problem. So you say, I'm going to rate 1, 2, 3. All right, for shits and giggles, I'm going to put this guy down on 3. He don't stand a chance. For me, he don't stand a chance. It could come to fruition that a lot of people put this guy as number 2. And when you do the numbers, the guy that you were clowning on as number 3 is now the guy that is actually leading the race. So I don't know if it necessarily puts me in a position where like, oh, wow, now I have this choice. If you got a person that's number 1, you better pick that person as number 1. If you got a person that you really like that, hey, look, if my number 1 loses, I really like this guy, then you pick that guy, that person. But just don't rank because ranking is there. And that's the miseducation, and that's the warning signs and the bells that I'm ringing, because people think because they have the choice and because it's the new thing, I'm just going to start ranking people. Yeah, I put this 1, 2. I don't know too much about this guy, but he is Black. I'm going to put him number 3. He could be totally against any policy you have, but you put him down as number 3, or you put him down as number 2. A bunch of other people put him down as number 2 and number 1, and now he moves up the thing. If you don't like him, don't put him down. You like somebody? I think
that's a good point. That's a good point, because now the strategy that a lot of candidates. Lord have mercy. Anywho, a lot of candidates now are asking people that they know may not vote for them for number 1, put me as your number 2. So that's a little bit of the dialogue that's going on. You know, can I be your number 2 if you don't vote for number 1? So they're using that strategy to at least get themselves closer, because you don't know. And if you don't want somebody or they're not really top, I do agree with you. Let's not rank them. But let's play this video for Councilwoman Sylvina Brooks Powers.
After Election Day, but ranked choice voting has its first winner in New York City. In a special election for City Council in Queens, community organizer Sylvina Brooks Powers won 51% of the vote after a hand count of more than 7,000 ballots. That ended today. The tally took 2.5 days and went for 9 rounds in the race for the 31st district in Southeast Queens and Far Rockaway. Brooks Powers must be legally certified the winner before taking office. That vote count was conducted by hand because the State Board of Elections has yet to approve tabulation software that was purchased by the city.
Okay, let me get to that.
Voting will be used citywide. This new approach allows New Yorkers to rank up to 5 candidates in order of preference. If no candidate gets a majority of the first choice votes, the lowest performer is eliminated and second choice votes are considered. The process continues until a candidate gets 50%.
Let me talk about that. Please. Let me talk about
I'm gonna give you the place so you can talk about more. I mean, who determines who's doing the counting?
Okay, so let's talk about that. Now we're acting like Donald Trump supporters if we have a problem with this. And why do I say that?
You're crazy. You can't make that analogy to that. You can't make that. We've been beat down too much when it comes down to voting to make that analogy. Like, I want to know who's counting. Is there accreditation? I want to know, because it hasn't worked for us. Just like when we looked at the George Floyd and the Chauvin's trial. Any day that the jury was out any day longer, we were on pins and needles waiting for it to come out the right way.
Royce, this is a system. This is not the only time that ballots are hand counted. There are many other situations where ballots are hand counted, and there's a system for that. These are functionaries that their job is to count. This is observed very closely. If you looked at the video, it was a room where there were a number of people in there. The count was transparent. It was paper ballots. So it's not like this is subject to some sort of manipulation. They're counting these. They're looking at them. They're observing them. The circle is filled in. It's not a hanging chat where there's some level of uncertainty. The circle is filled in. You're counting. You're writing down your results. There's more than one count because it's redundant too. This first person counts. And then another person counts, and that's compared. I participated in places where, particularly in Long Island, I believe it was Craig Johnson's race out in Long Island. It was a tight race, so they had to do a hand count, and there are many people in that room observing because there are a lot of people who have a stake in these races. A lot of lawyers are there, election lawyers observing these counts. So it's not like this is taking place in the dark and that the people who are counting are people that people don't know, who haven't been appointed to serve this function. So to attack the process from the perspective of who's doing the counting, I don't think that's really fair. I think that I think that the process itself is very transparent. Now, is there a level of corruption on so many layers that all of these people are in on the conspiracy? I just refuse to believe that.
And I agree with you, but what I'm saying is that now Black America of color, is waking up. And in that wakening up, they're starting to say, let me see what's behind door number 1. You know what? I never thought about that before. I never did A, B, and C. Let me look underneath the couch. You know what? I took that for granted. Now I'm not taking that for granted anymore. And that's all I'm saying.
So hold on. Let me jump in for a minute. So to the point, I definitely agree. We have hand counts. The challenge is that was 7,000 for one seat, and it took 9 iterations. We're talking about the entire city with multiple elections on hand counts. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done. We're talking about the tedious weight and labor that is going to be required without having a vendor to do it electronically. That's all I'm raising.
Well, listen, we have an unemployment problem. Anybody who says that they
here we go. No. You know what? You hit it right on, like mine. You hit it right on the head. There you go. Here it is. We always talk about opportunities and putting ourselves in position and who determines who go where. This is what I mean by opening up the door and looking underneath the bed. So now, yes, I distrust that, or I feel a little funny about that. Or I'm going to say I feel funny about that because I really feel funny about the choice ranking, right? I really don't feel funny about the people counting, whatever the mindset is. But now there's an opportunity to say, all right, I want to be certified and I want to be in the room and I want to do the counting because I want to be able to go to the barbershop and say, you know what? I was in the room with so-and-so, so-and-so. This is how they do it. But that is all in the education and the rollout. And we have a transparency issue when it comes down to this area. We know this. It is not a secret. We have an issue to transparency when it comes down to police misconduct and trials of police officers. It's not a secret. It is there. So to act like you're going to just smooth it over with a commercial that we had to go on the website to find, I haven't seen that on TV. I mean,
I saw it on TV.
Well, it's not on BET. Yeah, I need it to be on BET, brother. I don't know. You watch whatever station. I need it to be on BET if you're trying to reach me. But, come on. You know what I'm saying. I don't need to say more. You know what I'm saying. I'm going to step down, step back. Whatever you do to calm it down, I'm doing that right now. I'm doing that.
Well, listen. I understand that the two of you find the rollout troublesome. I do too. I'm not going to doubt. I don't disagree that the rollout was clumsy, and that they should have waited for a contractor who was willing to create a process by which this could be computerized, because it's definitely a process that needs to be computerized. You know, it's the type of tabulation that a computer can do versus a human being is like, you know, way beyond, you know, especially in 2021, no doubt about that. But fundamentally, I think that the system in of itself is sound, especially when you think internationally. Like, for instance, I even have a problem with the two-party system. I think there should be more parties than there are now. I don't like this idea of having these stark choices and only two organizations controlling the agenda. I just don't like it. I don't, you know, and I think it lends to a lot of the problems that exist in our society. So anything that can be done to expand choice, I'm in favor of. You know, you're right. On a practical level, you can't have
easy on that expansion. You better be easy on that.
All of this hand counting taking place in every city council race throughout the city. And then, you know, you're talking about every precinct, you know, then, you know, throughout the city, you know, no doubt, no question. But, you know, at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, expanded choice is the way to go. And, you know, I think that's the reason why, you know, it got on as a referendum. It got voted on. People voted in favor of it. And now it's law. And it's just a matter of improving it like a lot of other things. And listen, we have nobody to look at more so than our leadership. I think that, you know, this is also triggering more of a review on the New York City Board of Elections, how it's run, its structure, you know, who was in charge of implementing this law. They could have easily maybe gone back into session and said, listen, we're going to delay the implementation of this, but they didn't. You know, they went ahead and they rolled it out, and it's been tested, right? There have been some races where this hasn't had an impact. The top candidate got more than 50%, and you didn't have to go through all this counting. But for the tight races, it was a different story. And listen, for those tight races, the electorate deserves to have, you know, the powers that be take a closer look before they decide who the winner is and who not. You know, and that's all I have to say about that. I think that happens anyway.
I hear what you're saying. I'm not a big fan of time and waiting for results. It never really worked that way. You go to the doctor, you take a test, and he's like, hold on 1 second, give me 7 days to come back. You're not feeling right about it, right? Anything that you think of, you're not feeling right about open marriages. You have more than two parents. Why we got two people saying it? Let's have 4 people saying it. None of that is happening in real life. In any other area, we can hear.
I hang up on that one.
Yes, it does. You have different candidates for the services that you wish to receive. You may have more than one lawyer in terms of your preferences, more than one doctor.
I know, but that lawyer doesn't go in the back.
One account.
I'll be back in several days, and when you put the issue on the table, he's gonna do some research. All I'm saying is that he's gonna do some research, right? You can say, lawyer, I got this problem. She gonna go in the back and do research. For every day that she's in the back, you not feeling good. You like, yo, what's going on here? And if you're denying that, then come on. You like, what's going on here? Get to the bottom line. And I think what this adds on with the historical stuff that we have as people of color, rolling this out now with the miseducation or lack of education and all the things we put on the table. Now I'm gonna wait 45 days for you to tell me about who won the primary, and I'm already coming in jaded.
Listen, I believe we have a sophisticated enough democracy. I think that people have secondary and tertiary preferences when it comes to a lot of things in life. This is no different. I know for certain for me right now with the mayor's race, I'm very much undecided as to who I'm gonna vote for. Every other day, something new is coming out about the candidates, you know, and you wonder, oh man, I thought this way about this person. Now this came out, you know, what do I do?
Well,
you know,
they came out with the vaccine. The vaccine you had Pfizer, you had Merck, and you had the one shot. You had the one shot, right? right? It wasn't rolled out like which one you wanted to rank to go get. They were like, yo, this place over here got you sign in this area code, you get in the file. You in this area code, you get in the whatever.
No, I went to
they got sentenced. They just
went to a vaccination center where they gave me 3 choices.
Out of your area code, brother. Out of your zip code. That was out of your zip code. That was not in your zip code. All right, transparency. That was not in your zip code.
So so those white folks got more choices than we did back home, huh?
Oh my goodness! Could that happen? Oh, that happened!
Oh boy!
What's that? Cully McCall?
They keep pulling me in.
Home Alone.
He pulled you in, and you fell for it. Like, come on.
We go emoji. Do my emoji. Like, and once again, Ed, we getting the information out. So we getting the information out. I get it. We getting the information out. Somebody will pick this up. The reason why we don't have anybody signing in right now because they so damn confused that they can't even sign in to even like, yo, what about this? They're just like, yo, this is like.
Listen, it's real easy.
This is a S show.
You're gonna get your ballot. You're gonna see the candidates. You're gonna decide who's your number one. Boom. That's my number one. Who's my secondary preference?
I better make sure that I put my second one. I better make sure I like them because
who's my third? That's my third. The rest of these folks, nah, I'm good. I could stop there. That's it.
Right. All right. Well, you got the strategy. Let's roll it out that way. Black, stop. Let's do that.
Right now, I live in a city so twice. They named it twice.
Yeah.
I live in a city right now. Yeah, I live in a city right now where I got both teams going to the playoffs in the NBA.
I know, but you live in a city where you didn't have to repeat every grade, right? You ain't 102 with your law degree. You the right age for your law degree. You want to do things twice. How you want to do things twice? You got 2 wedding rings on your hand? What you got? He's like, how we rolling here? All I know is that when they market the car that can self-park, I'm like, yo, B, I'm not getting that car right there. You're not self-parking. The car that self-drive, we're going to take a long time on that. I'm not jumping in that. Where's the education on that? I'm taking all those experiences and I'm dropping over here. I go to the barber shop. He messes up your haircut. Guess what? I'm not getting that dude to cut my hair.
So listen, I think I got a rotary phone for you, Royce.
That's right. You should. That's right. It's reliable. And check it out. When you had a rotary phone and your mother said stop, you stopped because you didn't want to get hit with that phone. Now you like, yo, throw that cell phone. It's your phone. It's just going to break. How about that? This is going to break.
How about that little lock they used to put on it? Remember?
Oh, that was serious. Right. Now you get off the phone. That's it. That's right. That's where we at.
Y'all are telling your age.
But we not at the point where go ask your mother. What she say? No, go ask your other mother. The other one that's in the room. Because we got choices. I don't rank them. Which one room you going into? We not doing that.
We're not doing that.
We're not doing that. Zimbabwe.
We're not
doing that. Yeah.
Oh my Lord. I don't know what they drank today, ladies and gentlemen. Richard said y'all are crazy. It's them. It's not me. It's something in the water today. I don't know if it's the springtime, it's the pollen. Maybe it's the pollen. Maybe they need some medication. But this was a good conversation today around educating us about ranked choice voting. New York City is not the only place where ranked choice voting actually exists. They have documentation in different areas. And there are some arguments to be made that it has opened up more opportunities for people of color who have been disenfranchised or not been able to participate successfully because of the machine in different places across the country, which is interesting. So there's a lot of debate. I'm not here to speak in favor or against it totally. I have my issues with both sides, and I just want to make sure that everyone in our district and everyone in New York City is educated about the process so they're not confused when they go to the polls. Still vote for your number one person, and if you are going to put someone on the ballot, like Mr. Russell said, make sure you're okay if they end up coming out on top. You don't want somebody randomly put in your ranked choice, and because of ranked choice, they end up sliding in to home base. So be aware of the candidates, be aware of what they stand for, be aware of how that affects your community, your roads, your schools, your senior services. All of these things are a part of who is being put into office, particularly here in New York City. We're all surviving COVID-19. The city is working hard to rebuild, moving fast with opening up. That's a whole nother conversation of whether that's happening prematurely or not. But capitalist society means there has to be some capital being made. So everybody's rushing back to make sure the economy gets a boost. So make sure you know where people stand on the issues. Make sure you understand what they're going to do that will help your household, your family, your children, your elders. These are the important parts of where the legal meets the cultural. You can't just sit on the sideline and not participate in the system. That is unacceptable. But you do need to get educated so that you know what you're doing when you do go to the polls. So last words, I'm almost afraid to say that, Mr. Russell. Any last thoughts before we close out today?
Look, if there's any doubt in what's going on with this new system, I would say if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So you can decide to lend yourself to be someone that counts some of the votes. You can lend yourself to go educate from this show or other shows to figure out, or commercials, figure out what's going on, and then do a workshop in your community. But it is happening. It will happen. There will be some lumps, no two ways about it. Somebody's going to be dissatisfied. It's always what it is. And just take it as Dr. Grant says, an opportunity to be more engaged, to be more involved. And it may be an opportunity to reap some compensation, because this is a capitalistic world we live in.
That it is. And Senor Pichardo.
Listen, folks, as was stated earlier, every one of us have a civic duty to do our research, to adjust, to be forward thinking. You have to look at these candidates. Even without the ranked choice, you should be researching your candidates and figuring out whether or not that candidate's platform agrees with you, if it benefits you, no matter what. So you should be doing your research. And you should understand any system that affects you, okay? Any political system that affects you, it behooves you to understand it. And a lot of people around the world wish that they had the ability to participate in this democracy the way we do here. In a lot of other places, we don't have anywhere near the freedoms or they don't have nowhere near the freedoms that we have here to vote. In fact, I feel like a lot of us take this system for granted and want everything to be given to us, fed to us by mouth with a spoon, with our chins out like we were 3, you know what I mean? And that's not right. You have to take some responsibility for what happens in the society around you. Anything less is considered apathy. And whatever happens to you based on your own apathy, to a certain degree, you may be deserving of it. I'm not saying that a lot of dirty tricks aren't played on us, but a lot of times they aren't. It's just simply us not doing what we need to do to participate and become engaged. So that's what I have for folks. I hope you found this show to be fulfilling and educational, and please feel free to do your research. When I punched in ranked choice voting, there were endless articles on it, endless literature, videos, you name it. So there's no reason why. The information is out there. If you have a cell phone, like most of us do, a smartphone that's connected to the internet, you should be able to work this out.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. Thank you, gentlemen, for your commentary today. And we hope that you go out there. Hey, Ricardo. We hope you go out, get that information, especially share it with the elders in our community. I've been having conversations with a lot of the elders who were confused and just breaking down what it is so they can understand it, because it's outside of the norm that they know. So we all have a part to play, a part to do. That's why we're here speaking legally, where the legal meets the cultural.
And when you go out and speak to those elders, make sure you have 2 red cups and a black cup and a marble, and kind of shuffle it around. So you
Mr.
tell them what the deal is, because they're gonna look at you. There's some 3-card Monty going on here. But we'll leave it at that.
We will leave it at that. And we hope that you get to enjoy the good weather that's at least happening in the New York area and wherever you are tuning in across the country. Thank you for being a part of our show, our audience, sharing the broadcast out with your network and your friends so that we can continue to make sure that we get access to the information that we can use with our 2 legal experts. Have a wonderful rest of the afternoon. We'll see you next week, same place, same time.